What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to the 11th annual Smark Out Moment Awards. The Smarkies, the end of the year awards, whatever you want to call them. This is when we recap with the good and the bad, the best and the worst that has happened in WWE from this past year, which, of course, since this is the 2020 edition, we're going to break down the weirdest year in
wrestling
ever.
history, maybe?
Not even just wrestling history, just the weirdest year, you know. So there's lots of really bad to talk about on the worst side of things, but surprisingly, a lot of really, really good too. So I'm going to be breaking all that down here the way we normally do here. This is the not the 11th time that we've done this in podcast form, but it's changed a couple things here and there. It's mostly the same as what it was last year. We'll get into some of the more specifics a little bit later on. Before we get into any of that, though, I want to introduce who's going to be doing this. You guys know everybody by now if you've been following along, but just in case you're brand new for some reason, I am your host, Tony Mango, and your other hosts here are my usual suspects. I've got Robert DeFelice.
All right, we made it through 2020.
Almost. Yeah. It's December 26th when we're recording this, so who knows what happens in the meantime. We also have Callum Wiggins.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
I'm going to tip a hat that I don't have on right now to you guys.
actually mime doing that myself. But
Did you imagine a specific hat when we were doing it? Like a bowler hat or something?
Definitely a bowler hat, yeah. That's definitely the one, yeah.
It's got to be a bowler, not some, baseball cap or something. So, yeah, tip of the hat to everybody else as well. Do the same thing that you'd be normally doing for the regular podcasts here, but in much more complicated fashion, I guess you could say. We always want to know what you guys have to say about these topics. So while you're listening to us give our opinions and our picks, I want to know what your picks are and what your opinions are about our opinions. Maybe you're like, oh my God, you're crazy. Why would you ever pick this for that person? Or why are you ganging up on this person? Like when I was picking Catalina a lot last year or something. Maybe you've got some suggestions for the worst kid of the year, because that became a running gag for the longest time, and I didn't write that down on my notes yet. As I mentioned before, again, keep in mind we are recording these a little bit earlier in advance because this is going to be up either like the 30th or the 1st or something like that. So who knows if anything happens on the Monday Night Raw afterward or something. If that is the case, I'm sure we'll just kind of do like a little addendum or something. But we're going to break things down in the same groups that we did the last time around, which is that this is going to be a 6-part thing that has multiple parts inside of it. So if you are listening to us on the feeds that are just the podcast audio, like Amazon Music, Audible, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, etc., it's going to be one feed unless it's too big for me to make one feed. Sometimes that sort of happens. I don't know. But if you are on the YouTube side of things, it's separate videos. It's on the playlist. You just click on different videos and you'll get to the different parts. We will start things off with the technical skills. We'll go into part 2 is the writing awards, then the programming awards, the on-air personalities, the wrestler awards, and then we'll wrap it all up with the Smark Out Moment Awards, the Smack Talk Awards, whatever you want to call them, the actual website awards for us, where we talk about the best and worst segments that we've done and so on and so forth. So as usual, we've got the same sort of other plugs that I just want to mention very, very, very quickly. If you want to show your support for us and you want to help us grow in the new year in 2021, the best way to do that is to do all the things that you could do that support the YouTube channel or the website, like liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, ringing the little notification bell, leaving a comment, hitting the share button, and telling other people about the podcast and the website in general as well. Following us on Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment. Checking out the merchandise shops on TeePublic and Redbubble. There are shops for Smark Out Moment and for some other things under A Mango Tees and under Fanboys Anonymous, which is my sister website. Go ahead and check out fanboysanonymous.com and show some love over there. And there's also the YouTube Join membership side of things, which is also the same thing as the Patreon. Patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment. Even $1 goes a long way. So if you think that we give you $1 worth of entertainment a month, consider donating a little bit of spare change our way. It actually can go a long way, the more people that do that as well. But there's the dark casts, there's the pick your poison tier, So there are plenty of ways to help us grow and help us turn things around a little bit better, and to maybe even make it to the point where in 2021 we can do a really decked out video version of this and go back to the way that we did it before and maybe make it a little better or something. I don't know. We're going to start breaking things down here. And as I mentioned before, it is the best and the worst of WWE. It's not including AEW. It's not including Impact. It's not including, MLW or New Japan or whatever. If we have like a, quick thing to mention about that, we might. But we did do our AEW list on a previous video. Go ahead and check that out while you're at it. And I guess we should just get started. We are on part 1 here, as you can probably tell from what you've clicked on. And that means that we are on the Technical Skill Awards. So these break down things like ring work and the things that aren't necessarily like performer specific, but I guess tangential to them. I don't know how you would really fully specify. We start things off the way that we always start things off here, with the best and the worst entrance of the year. So this incorporates everything. It's, the pyro, the music, the lighting, what they do during that. And it could be a single entrance, or it could be something that they do every single time. Let's see how we should get this started. Should I start with the bad news or the good news? What do you guys think?
Bad news. Let's just get out of the way.
I don't know which one of these two I would pick, because one of them, I don't know if it really necessarily even counts as an entrance. So my two options that I have down for worst are everybody in Money in the Bank. I hated that they're just standing there and it's like, all right, well, we're going to start the match. Everybody's here. So it's not really an entrance. So I don't know if I would count that. So if I have to pick something a little bit more standard, Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. That stupid big rig what was the point in that? Oh, she's in a big rig. And she got out of it. Okay.
They had the big rig ready to go. It was going to be a big entrance at WrestleMania and then COVID. So.
I can't imagine that whatever they would have done would have made an impression on me anyway. I'm not impressed with cars. And they got a big truck with a lot of wheels. Cool. Whatever. She's going to do something with it. Oh no, she's going to park it. Fine. What do you guys have for your worst?
Like this was a year with a lot of bad entrances because, I think the circumstances made everything weird, but I'm going to go ahead and say, for the sheer fact that there was nobody there and had that weird, like, chip tune, Undertaker at Survivor Series.
Oh god, that like the was it Ferrithin? Thurman? What the fuck is Ferrithin? Fucking Lord of the Rings character or something?
Thurman, yeah. It was, I just didn't like it. It just didn't fit anything that the character stood for.
As a general one, I just want to mention a name I'm going to be mentioning quite a lot throughout these episodes, Dexter Lumis. Just because of his, just because I hate the way that he walks like a zombie, just staring forwards into the ring, and his music is terrible and all this other stuff. But the two that really stood out to me is just individual entrances. One is Rob Gronkowski doing his weird, gyrating dance to the ring. And he was introduced as the host for WrestleMania.
That was a good meme, though. Good meme for the year.
Not gonna lie, I kind of liked it. It's just like, come on, or something like the lyrics.
But the one I think I'm going to go for is Keith Lee's debut entrance on Raw, because they completely changed the music. He looked completely different. They just took everything away immediately. That felt okay. They really want this guy on the roster. He's a new up and coming star. Let's just strip everything away from him that like made his entrance so iconic in NXT, and just give him some generic nothing music to come out to. I just think it's the worst possible way you can debut a guy.
Can we give a special award to that? The fucking music this year has been atrocious. They switched over to that new, whatever that is, Def Rebel, and it's just been awful. Everybody's gotten like a downgrade in their theme song.
There's a couple that are decent. Like Billy Kay's is good. I do like Keith Lee's new music now that they've replaced that one. But most of them are just generic production rock music, and yeah, that's terrible when they do that. On the best side of things, I had a couple. It was hard for me to pick through. I like Breezango's parodies that they do, where they're like, they're dressed up as construction workers or something, and Beth Phoenix is like going nuts over like the stripper kind of thing. I like Shotzi Blackheart's tank. And by the way, for any of these, like, if that's your pick, by all means, stop me or something. Karrion Kross is a good entrance.
As a rule, I think for consistency, he might have had the best entrance of the year. Just like that cool fall and pray stuff. I even think the empty arenas helped that. So he was like a close runner-up for me.
I really was going to give this to Edge at the Royal Rumble.
That's mine. That's it.
What knocked it out for me, though, is Undertaker at Super Showdown, just because this is the last time I'm going to be able to give the Undertaker the best entrance.
What did he do? This is the gauntlet, right?
Yeah, it's just the Undertaker's entrance with a shit ton of pyro and lights and stuff. But if I'd have to go like what made a bigger impact, it's Edge at Royal Rumble. But just in general, if you factor in the music and whatever, I go Undertaker at Super Showdown.
I do want to shout out MVP at Royal Rumble just because Brock Lesnar started dancing, and I thought that was great.
I quite like the Keith Lee's one at Royal Rumble as well, because it's just like, mainly just because it's Brock Lesnar standing there, so look at this motherfucker. It's just like, that's pretty good. But I think as overall ones, the ones that have like the best, I think, general entrances, the two that stand out to me are Io Shirai, just because I love the lighting and I think the music really works for her in that sense as well. And obviously we got to see quite a lot of it because she's been NXT champion for so long. And The Fiend, just because The Fiend has a great entrance. Everything else about it might be a bit sucky, but the entrance is great. But in terms of individual ones, I really like Undertaker's entrance as Survivor Series. I don't care what Rob says. I think Undertaker's entrance as Survivor Series was different. I find having like, he still had his classic entrance, but he did something a little bit more on top of that, and I enjoyed it. And Drew McIntyre's entrance on the Raw, where he won back the WWE Championship, the kilt and the Claymore.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's cool first time, but it's definitely Edge at Royal Rumble.
Like
there's really no tangent of that one. It had a crowd. It was super exciting.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, Edge of Royal Rumble is hard to beat because it's got that sort of. I mean, he's got a good theme, and he's got the energy behind that, and the surprise.
The emotion that his like, because he was basically tearing up when he came towards the ring as well. It was all great.
There's a lot of positives for Edge on my list for this year.
Yeah.
Let's move on to clothing / attire / ring gear, whatever you want to constitute. It doesn't have to necessarily be ring gear. We called it ring gear in the past, and then that got confusing because people thought that it had to be that they wore it in the ring. It's basically just the outfits, the shit that they wear. So, who's got the best and the worst when it comes to that? I've got for worst, for the longest time, I had Lana from Super Showdown because her outfit was pretty terrible. And then Dominic Mysterio pulls out this turtleneck on SmackDown on December 4th. And I'm like, at the last minute, he swoops in and he wins.
He looked like he was just trying to be that Rock meme, but worse.
Yeah. That was bad.
Yeah. From a ring gear perspective, though, Keith Lee on the main roster, I hated that because it's like we're so obviously just going, well, he's kind of fat, so we're just gonna cover him up, and he didn't need that. Keith Lee is great, and that was offensive to me because, like Callum said, with the music, it just stripped everything away from the character.
You had Keith Lee as one of my honorable mentions. I had Dexter Lumis as one of my honorable mentions as well because, of course, it's Dexter Lumis, so I hate everything about him. King Corbin, I don't like the King Corbin outfit at all because it's like this crossover. Like, I really want to be dressed in this, white beater and stuff like that, but then I have to put a crown on top of it as well because for some reason I'm still royalty. Retribution is way up there as well. With the masks and just the terrible look at. But the one that sticks out in my mind just for an individual, Tucker post split with Otis.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
He's got a family, bro. Come on.
It's like that was so. Okay, we dug out Bull Dempsey's old gear. Why don't we just chuck you in here and see what it looks like? Yeah, yeah, everything's just gone downhill. I'm going to be mentioning Tucker quite a lot, I think, in this one, just because of just how egregious it is. You split up a team which, face it, they're not the greatest team in the world, but they were an over tag team, and then you just completely strip both of them of any real semblance of their characters, and Tucker in particular has just suffered by it. I wonder what they told him when they said, "Okay, we're going to have you turn on Otis." Did you think he ever said like, "Okay, then what?" And then they just like hung the phone up or something like that? It's just. I can only imagine that's the way it went.
He's like, then what? And they're like, we'll get back to you. Best on this. I have a couple notes. Again, stop me if this is your pick. Always liked Edge's gear. So I like the coat and everything. Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Very cool. Mandy Rose at WrestleMania. Very nice. Johnny Gargano at TakeOver in Your House, inspired by The Mandalorian. Really like that. And the other honorable mention that I've got is the Gears of War stuff that the New Day had on, but I'm not a Gears of War fan. So even though I could appreciate that was something that was kind of neat, it doesn't really ring home to me anything particular. But I'm going Aleister Black at WrestleMania. He had a kind of bitchin' outfit going on right then.
I honestly can't even recall it.
Yeah,
remember how like Undertaker used to have like some coats and stuff that was like all, pointy and jagged edges and everything?
Oh yeah, he did pull out the spiked coat, and unfortunately, he's had such an unmemorable year. Otherwise,
the most memorable thing that happened to this year is that his wife left.
Yeah,
that's what happened. Let's be honest.
Go ahead.
So a few ones in terms of like just general attire. I think that in terms of just general one, I really liked the new tribal chief Roman Reigns look. No, it's not really attire because he's just wearing pants, but it suits him so much better than the old Shield gear does. So it's been a real upgrade for him. But I like the New Day Gears of War outfits. I like Drew McIntyre's kilt and Claymore thing. Makes him look very much like how I guess someone would imagine William Wallace if he wasn't probably just some scrawny guy in the 12th, 14th century or whatever it was. Seth Rollins at SummerSlam 2020 with the Halloween Havoc.
Honorable mention for me as well. That was very fucking awesome.
See, I didn't know what that was, and I thought that it was atrocious.
No, I like the rest of it. It might even be my actual pick just because I like the added nature of it. The 13-year-old boy in me would go. I mean, obviously, I know you mentioned Mandy Rose at WrestleMania. My choice would be, in that regard, be Carmella at Money in the Bank.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. That was, that might be beating out Mandy in that regard.
Yeah. But I think I'll probably end up going with actually I'll go with the New Day and the Gears of War outfits just because I think that's just a really cool thing for them to be like actual characters in that video game.
I agree with Callum in that statement. New Day becoming part of Gears of War was a cool thing, so I'm glad they got to do that. I love their Nickelodeon gear that they never actually got to wear all together at WrestleMania, but they wore it sometimes throughout the year where they all had like the Splat and the Rocko's Modern Life stuff on it and the All That logo. I thought that was really cool. My pick this year, ring gear, not ring gear, doesn't matter. Sasha Banks killed everything that she wore this year, looked amazing doing it. Sasha Banks is the winner here.
She does look fantastic pretty much every single week, so yeah. Can't really deny that. Move over to the signature maneuver. This could be their finisher, or it doesn't necessarily have to be their finisher. It could be just some kind of other move that they use on a regular basis. My worst is, and this, I gotta specify this. I always have trouble with this one because unless it's something that's really good, I tend to forget about it. So there's a lot of people that are like on the NXT UK roster, for instance, that like I can't tell you what Nina Samuels has for her finisher. I don't remember what Amale has done in the past. I don't even remember if she's won a single match. So I'm sure that there are ones that are just really bad that I just don't remember. But one that I do remember that I'm just not at all a fan of is Finn Balor's 1916 DDT. Because he stopped doing the coup de grace as his final thing, and instead he's just doing a lifting DDT. It's bland.
I can agree with that.
I quite like it. It's like a different version of a brainbuster.
I think it's a good setup move, and occasionally I like when matches end with the setup moves. I don't think you always need to break out your biggest move. So I like it in that regard, but I can understand you feeling that it's like a lackluster finish.
Because the coup de grace, it looks impressive. It looks like it would hurt. I'm sure it hurts more than it like that they would want it to. And that seems like this would be the setup move for that. Yet they were like, "Oh my god, he's got this new finisher. This is so devastating." I'm like, "It's a DDT. They do 100 of them in every single match, and it doesn't mean anything anymore." Now I know that like unless you make it mean something, then it won't mean anything or whatever. But it doesn't strike me as something that I can't imagine Finn Balor putting Karrion Kross down with that. You know what I mean? That's my worst.
So out of my choices for the worst, part of me wanted to go Schoolboy because it's basically the finisher for every 24/7 guy.
Yeah.
At the moment, but it's just a standard thing. I wanted to go with the Playmaker just because I assume that MVP hit it at some point during this, and the Playmaker is the worst wrestling move of all time. But I don't actually think he hit it. I don't think he actually used it at any point this year, so I can't really. If I can't recall an actual time that he used it, then I can't really give it to him. I don't like Kevin Owens' stunner.
Yes, amen to that. Amen to that. Kevin Owens does not need to be doing the stunner.
But the two it came down for to me are the Hurt Lock, because it's just a full Nelson. It's it didn't work for me when it was the Master Lock, and it doesn't work for me when it's the Hurt Lock either. And then the other one is Io Shirai's Moonsault because she never hits it properly.
Well, I think Nelson from The Simpsons is a great finisher, and so
I'll probably go the Io Shirai's one just because she doesn't hit it properly.
It's hard because so many of these aren't memorable. You know, like a lot of these matches, they even kill the concept of a finisher, and everybody just sort of does with a roll up every now and again. But worst finish, I don't like Roman doing the guillotine, and I think he could do something that would show off a little bit more strength if you wanted to do like a finisher. I don't like the guillotine. It doesn't work for me. I think maybe even just like beating people into submission with striking would be better than choking them out like that.
My best, I'm going to go Keith Lee's Big Bang Catastrophe, which he doesn't do anymore, unfortunately. I just like it. There's nothing much to it. I like it.
Is it because it has the same acronym as Big Black Cock?
I mean, once that came to my mind, I was like, that is pretty funny if he did that on purpose. But I think that it looks like it would hurt. You know, this guy's picking you up and he's slamming you down, and he's got this big frame that he's landed on top of you. It's like a splash and a suplex at the same time. Like, that should be his finisher, not just another powerbomb like everybody else.
Like the cross between an attitude adjustment and a jackhammer, the two most devastating moves in WWE history.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
I like Keith Lee's Spirit Bomb. I don't think it should be his finisher over the BBC, but I do kind of like it. I like the height that he gets onto it. There's the obvious classic ones. The Black Mass is always great. The Eclipse is always great. The End of Days is always great. Apollo Crews, we got to see a lot of the Toss Powerbomb this year, at least early on, and I've always liked that move. But because Apollo Crews was never actually featured very prominently in previous years, and this year actually got a bit of a shine with the United States title, we got to see it a bit more. But my choice is the Claymore. It was the most devastating finishing move of this entire year, and it was very well protected.
Oldie but a goodie. RKO.
You're gonna go with that one.
Randy RKO'd a motherfucker on fire, and that is like the new top RKO. Randy had a great year. You're gonna hear me say a lot of positive things about Randy. I'm sorry in advance, Callum. I know you hate him, but Randy had a really good year. But I do just want to go back because you said Ember Moon, and yeah, I might have to switch my worst. That submission she does is stupid. So that might actually be my worst.
Could be classed potentially my potential signature move of the year is throwing a match on a dude.
That is a good finisher.
Setting the Fiend on fire. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess again, it's not really like some kind of rule police is going to attack you.
I mean, we're coming up to spot on Botch now. Does that count as a spot or does it count as a botch? Because you're really setting a dude on fire. It's like
that's more of a spot.
It's a botch if the police are watching.
Yeah. Well, the spot and the botch, it's instead of the best spot and the best botch and the worst botch and all that, it's what's the coolest spot? What's the worst? Just well, that sucked kind of botch. Let's flip it up a little bit here. The coolest spot. I had a couple that I wrote down, and the more that I looked back on them, the more that I picked one that I think that a lot of people forgot. I'm sure some people are going to go Kevin Owens jumping off the WrestleMania sign. Fine. Not as impressive, I think, as even Otis running through the Elimination Chamber pod. That was one of the contenders. But the two that it came down to for me were Kevin Owens' stage flip that he did onto AOP at the very beginning of the year, January 13th, where he ran up the Titantron and jumped off. And I thought I was going to give it to that. Yet I watched back that, and I watched back the other one, and I'm going to go with the other one. Lindsay Dorado's flip from the top of the Elimination Chamber. Big fan of that.
Wow.
I forgot about that as well.
Yeah, I had even forgotten that the Owens Tony Hawk jump was this year. I thought it was like late last year.
Yeah, January feels like a long time ago.
That's a really good spot, though.
Can I mention a bad spot before I get into some of the good ones? Because there was a bad spot that I wanted to put in almost, which was Corbin throws Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio off a roof.
Yeah, I thought about that one myself because it's funny. He tossed him off a roof for a briefcase that didn't even matter.
But there was a smaller roof underneath, obviously.
Yeah, that was such a stupid excuse.
My choices, I had the Kevin Owens elbow drop of WrestleMania. Otis charging through the Elimination Chamber because that's just funny. Just him just going through both doors and through the outside. I also went with the Boneyard match just as general because it is just one giant spot, pretty much. Even though it has like some structure to it. Maybe choke slamming. Was it choke slamming Gallows off the roof? I think it was.
Yeah, he threw Anderson.
I thought he tombstoned Anderson because Anderson's the smaller one.
I thought that's the reason he would choke slam him.
But my choice is Drew McIntyre Claymores Brock Lesnar out of the Royal Rumble. Got the outside of Edge entering in it got the biggest pop of the entire match, and it really set the entire year in motion for Drew McIntyre. So I thought it was an important spot as well as a good one.
Now, do you incorporate the Ricochet low blow into that?
No, just the McIntyre Claymore. I know the Ricochet one is involved in that, but it's McIntyre Claymoring now. Ricochet was only in the match like 2 minutes afterwards, so. And also that Ricochet low blow led to one of the worst matches of the year, so I don't really want to count that there as well.
Well, for me, I almost went with, much like Callum with the Boneyard match, I almost said, let's give a little love to the Firefly Funhouse match because it was such a weird anomaly. But at Clash of Champions, they did this disgusting thing with Jeff Hardy's ear and like handcuffing it to a ladder. And for me, that's the most gruesome thing I've seen in wrestling in a while. So I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, his ear stuff. He's really just waiting for something bad to go down with that.
Rip it off.
Right.
Just, rip it off.
Now, the worst or the biggest botch or whatever, I had written down in February, Chelsea Green's Unprettier on Kaden Carter because she did it in the wrong direction. It's really just bad. But then Austin Theory completely failed to catch Montez Ford.
Oh yeah, I had that written down as one of my ones as well. That is just so bad.
He just jumps and it's just like, there goes the ramp. It's just, and that was just like, oh god damn, oh that's gotta hurt so fucking bad. You know? And you don't even really blame Austin Theory because everybody's running around and it's a little bit too hectic and confusing or whatever.
No, I don't blame him at all. I don't think he was supposed to. Honestly, I don't think Montez Ford was supposed to jump.
I don't think so.
Because there's a guy, I think I don't know whether it was Andrade or something like that, but there's somebody who's like tries to grab at his foot when he's going for the run, and he misses the foot, and so Motorsport's like, okay, well, I'm still running, so I've got to jump now, otherwise it's going to look really stupid. And then he jumps, and it looks really stupid because he lands on absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
So it's
Austin Theory's just like, well, this isn't the spot where he jumps, and he did. Fuck, kind of thing. Yeah, that became my biggest botch that I could think of at the very least.
Oh, I had so many things written down. I had the Montez-Ford jumping into nobody. I had the cameraman misses Edge's first spear at the Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah.
That is.
It's got to be the same cameraman that they had cut away from the whole AJ Styles thing.
And Roman Reigns thing. The whole Street Profits and Viking Raiders thing. I don't really know if you can really class that as a botch because nothing really went wrong in it. But it's just like it was a botch of ideas.
A lot went wrong in it. A lot went wrong. What are you talking about? There was a tentacle creature. What are you? That was the worst.
Chelsea Green gets injured immediately in her SmackDown debut.
I'm going to stop you right there because that's actually mine. I think it's a little mean to say that it's the biggest botch, but yeah, poor Chelsea. They called this girl up after one tag victory with Charlotte Flair. She drops Robert Stone and says, I'm moving up, and then disappears for months. And then finally shows back up after a failed, they actually shot another angle with her where she was going to be Mickie James' like super fan stalker, kind of like Mickie was to Trish, and they just didn't air that. So then they bring her up as like she's going to be on Team SmackDown. It's going to be this huge thing for her. And she breaks her wrist again and she's out. So yes, that is my biggest botch of the year. Maybe not so much that moment, but just the overall booking of Chelsea Green.
The other ones I had listed down is the one that actually involved Mickie James. There's that terrible ending to the Asuka and Mickie James match, the women's title, where just like everything got botched all together, and the referee counted for Mickie even though she was trying to get out and she hadn't tapped out or anything like that. It was just the funniest botch is Drew McIntyre.
Oh God, yeah, that's so good, Drew McIntyre.
But my choice for this one, just because I hate the fact that Nia Jax is hired and stuff like that. It's Nia Jax choke bombing Kairi Sane into the corner. Because you can, I mean, I know a lot of people have like speculated about what Kairi said going up to it, but at least one of the theories is the idea that she said that I'm not set.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
Yeah, and then she just tosses her into the corner. It's just, at that point I kind of went like, okay, if Kairi could ever be convinced to just re-sign with the company and stick around for a while, that just went in that 1 second because like, fuck this, I don't want to be wrestling this woman every single week anymore. And it just, again, goes to show, why is Nia Jax hired?
Nia injured 4 people this year?
I think so.
Yeah,
5?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I can't count them off the top of my head, but I know that she, and it's odd because she missed a good portion of the start of the year because she had both her knees replaced essentially. So it's like, and then she comes back and she's immediately back to her destructive self again. But
yeah. We'll get more into that in a different thing. So we all picked a spot and botch, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on to recognition, the most underrated performer and the most overrated performer. Pretty self-explanatory. I had a couple down for overrated. I had a note about this, and I was like, this guy's overrated from WWE, but not from the fans, which is A-Kid. I don't see anything to go nuts about. I don't think he should have won that Heritage Cup, but I can't make him the most overrated. I would typically go with Bray Wyatt, but I think people are kind of coming along with my theory about, he's just a guy in a mask. Yeah, okay. So I don't think that that's the case anymore. So it really, to me, was down to these 2 teams, actually. Bayley and Sasha Banks, or the Riot Squad, because people went nuts over Bayley and Sasha Banks this year, and I think that they were just not doing as good of a job as everybody else thinks that they are, personal opinion.
You're wrong. I'm sorry. You're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, people keep talking about Liv Morgan in particular, being like, they're not using her the way that they should, and she's got all this great potential, and she should be at the top, and why hasn't she won the title yet? And I'm like, I like Liv, but like, she's not amazing. I don't know why she's got this like massive support of like that she's like the best that they're overlooking. Like, she's still learning, So I think actually, if you count those, I might go Liv Morgan as the most overrated.
So in terms of my choices, I went for 4 people because, again, we mentioned it on the AEW one, I don't like this idea of overrated and underrated because I don't know who's really deciding it. So I went with overrated in terms of people that are positioned in the company in prominent positions that I don't really get any sort of enjoyment out of. So I wish that they saw it the way that I saw it. And the 4 names immediately sprung to mind are Dexter Lumis, because of course.
King Corbin's one of them.
Baron Corbin, yeah. King Corbin, of course, yeah. Braun Strowman. So I think Braun Strowman had a terrible year, really. I know he was Universal Champion, but I think he was just awful for most of the year. Just in-ring wise, he was really, really lackluster. But the worst is Nia Jax. Of course, it's Nia Jax because she is terrible in the ring. She is botch prone and she causes injuries to other wrestlers, and yet she's always positioned in and around the main event title scene, whether it's the tag team titles or the actual Raw, SmackDown women's title, whichever brand that she's on. So yeah, it's just Nia Jax should not be anywhere near the top thing, especially considering the fact how much talent you have in the NXT women's roster. The fact that she has a position on the main roster card and they don't is just mind-blowing to me.
So, I want to go back to Braun Strowman real quick because when everybody was talking on the Fightful Christmas stream about their worst championship botch of the year, everybody said Goldberg beating The Fiend. I went with Strowman because I think Strowman is the biggest dud that WWE has right now. And you can hate Bill Goldberg all you want, but Braun Strowman is a dud, and I don't see it. Like what Tony said with Liv, that's how I feel about Braun Strowman. I don't see it. I don't get it. In the same vein, NXT real quick, I don't fucking get Dexter Lumis. They think that this guy is a thing. I don't think he's a thing. I think they need to stop. But obviously, it's Nia Jax. No explanation needed because Callum already covered it. It's fucking Nia Jax.
Yeah, if you're going by what WWE overrates them specifically, then yeah, Nia Jax. If you go with the fans, I don't think that people have that opinion about Nia Jax, so that's why I didn't put her on my list.
Well, if I go with the fans,
I'd see. The fans are too polarizing to really get some sort of measure out of, really.
This year in particular, Royal Rumble aside, I have to go with Naomi. Because Naomi did awesome at the start of the year, but when that dance competition thing happened and people blew up that oh, Naomi shouldn't be losing to Lacey Evans on SmackDown, I was like, okay, I think we're pushing this too far. Because Naomi's great, but Naomi also could have done more.
Yeah.
There's also, in the similar vein, there's people that are getting far too behind Lana for her ability level.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my god, fuck that. Real quick, the Lana thing, I think it started with the people, and now it's gonna be a WWE thing. Lana is not that great. I don't care if she had this tough year because, Rusev left and all that. It doesn't matter. Lana, the character, they need to do more with than just go, hey, isn't it funny that she got put through a table and then she didn't do anything, but she still won because she's a survivor? No.
Yeah. On the underrated side of things, I want to give a shout out to Dominic Dijakovic for how they've fucked him over as T-Bar. But I'm going to go Damian Priest. I don't hear a lot of people talking about Damian Priest, and I think that he's pretty damn great.
He won me over this year.
Yeah, he's doing very well, but I can't really give somebody underrated when he was a champion for a considerable amount of time this year. So again, I'm going based on the company's mindset of people that I think should be given more prominent positions. There's the obvious usual suspects that you're going to have. You're going to have Ruby Riott there. You're going to have Chad Gable, Cesaro, of course. Dana Brooke, I think, is underrated in terms of, I think she improves quite a lot, and I don't think they give her enough of a spotlight or they give her enough attention. Angelo Dawkins as well, because when everyone mentions the Street Profits, they always just talk about Montez Ford and how great Montez Ford is. And Montez Ford is great, but Angelo Dawkins is great as well. He is a really good, I guess a foundation for him as well. It's if you need a really good hot tag for Montez Ford, then Dawkins can provide it to him. Or if he needs to be the one that does the hot tag because Ford is so good at selling, then Angelo Dawkins can provide that as well. But the one that really sticks out in my mind, Drew Gulak as well, I actually mentioned as an honorable mention because he's done fuck all since he did really well at the start of the year with like being Daniel Bryan's protege, and then they just completely dropped that, moved him to Raw for no reason, and now he's just a 24/7 guy. But Mustafa Ali, because they gave him Retribution, and then they basically said, yeah, we don't care about Retribution. And so it's just like, give this guy something. He's so good. He's so talented at everything. He's doing his damnedest to try and make Retribution work. And you just give him shit after shit after shit. Like, nothing to make this act work at all, that he's just trying to salvage from the very few remains they give him. So I think for the hard work he's trying to put into Retribution this year, he deserves a lot better than what he's gotten.
I agree with that. Honorable mention for me, I'm always going to say Bronson Reed. I don't know how he hasn't gotten into the NXT North American title picture in a more singles capacity this year. I do think Liv Morgan has a lot to offer. I just think she needs to find her niche. And
I've heard that way too many times this year, that she needs to find herself.
Well, no, I don't know if she needs to find herself. I think, like, in the ring, she needs to have a standout performance in a match rather than it just be, well, people are going nuts about her because she's a pretty girl and she has her stands. Once she has, like, a great in-ring performance, it'll start to click for her. But most underrated, I gotta go Ricochet. They killed this guy dead for no goddamn reason. And you know that there's people in that company that know what they have in Ricochet. Shawn Michaels loves the guy. And they had him job to Brock Lesnar in what feels like 5 seconds. Might have been 2 minutes, but I know he didn't get a single offensive maneuver. And so
it was closer to 5 seconds than 2 minutes.
You know, poor Ricochet. I think him and another honorable mention, gotta say Aleister Black. Go back to NXT. But for me, it's Ricochet number 1. It's a shame what they've done to him.
Which, by the way, I just looked it up. 1 minute and 34 seconds.
Damn.
So, never mind.
That's
closer to 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's closer to 2 minutes.
That's a real shame because Ricochet should be more.
So those are all our picks, right? Yeah. I think so.
Yep.
Let's go to improvement in the superstar. Well, improvement, and then the quite opposite of that, the biggest upgrade and the biggest downgrade. Upgrade side of things, I got a couple people. This sounds kind of weird to say, but Pat McAfee was a potential for me because he went from a guy that's like, he's just, it's just talking, to being one of the best promo people, but I figured I wouldn't count that. I do think that Bobby Lashley saw a severe upgrade this year.
Absolutely.
Wasn't at the beginning of it, that's for sure. Turn that around. Damian Priest. It's another one that I thought about giving this to. Jey Uso, I thought I would end up giving this to, and then he kind of petered off again. So I'm going to go with a very surprising pick here, Raquel Gonzalez.
Bingo! Raquel Gonzalez is
Crazy,
the most improved. She's also my pick. She had a phenomenal year. When she debuted in February as Dakota's heater, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. I think Raquel Gonzalez, sky's the limit for her.
I thought that Reina Gonzalez in the Mae Young Classic was absolutely terrible in some fashion. Like, she couldn't do anything almost and make me actually like go like, oh, there's potential there or whatever. And now she's good. She's amazing. She's not perfect or anything like that, but she's rock solid now compared to that. So she improved a lot. So I got to give her credit.
Yeah, I have a lot of names listed down for best improvements. You got, I think Candice LeRae's new character is a lot more just as soon as she turned heel, she feels a lot more important and feels like she's able to show off a lot more personality because WWE only cares about giving heels personalities. Kushida is so much better off than he was last year because he actually has some sort of fire behind him, but it wasn't enough in terms of actual him getting championship opportunities or anything like that to really change things up. Damian Priest a lot better off than he was at the start of the year. Roman Reigns even is so much better now in the last few months than he's ever been at any point since the Shield. Got Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin. You can even make an argument for Drew McIntyre as well, because he's like a bona fide main event star. Prior to that, he was just like, okay, he's a guy that maybe can fill in every now and again on the heel side. Now he's a top babyface. But the two that really stand out are Bobby Lashley and Raquel Gonzalez. And Raquel's made the more like complete metamorphosis out of the two of them, so I think I have to go for Raquel as well.
Look at you, Raquel. You're getting a 3-fer. That's the first one that we've all agreed on.
We all agreed on Edge at the Royal Rumble.
No, I went with Undertaker, remember?
Yeah, he went with somebody else.
Oh yeah, you were wrong about that.
Good for Raquel.
I mean, credit to Raquel for getting a unanimous vote there. Curious in the comments, what do you guys think? You're like, you're crazy. It should have been whatever. Downgrade. I think
we might all be unanimous here too.
We might. I would have given it to Rhea Ripley because she really just, they fucked her over bad this year. They did this whole thing where she is heading into the end of 2019 and she leads the team to win War Games and then Survivor Series back to back. And then a couple weeks later, she beats Shayna Baszler and wins the title. And what happens in 2020? She goads Charlotte Flair into making her drop her title and cry. And then she spends the whole rest of the year going like, I don't know, I guess I'll fight Aaliyah a little bit and then I'll lose this match and I'll lose that match. She didn't win shit this year. So there's a massive downgrade. But then you got to talk about Velveteen Dream.
Mm-hmm.
And then that turns into, not only is that a downgrade as far as performance, but to say a major downgrade as far as the backstage stuff goes is a very, very strong understatement.
Well, I mean, since you've brought that up, Velveteen Dream went from being a guy who could have been on the main roster with all this fanfare to, if they ever put him in front of a mass crowd, I think people might actually just start throwing shit in the ring. It's unfortunate, but Velveteen Dream will probably never be the star that he could have been.
And of course, we got to put it out there. Nothing's like, confirmed about different things or whatever. There's all that kind of investigation and all that stuff we're not privy to that information. But at the same time, there's a stigma at the very least, and that's going to weigh him down. And it has. You guys going with anybody else other than him?
Fucking Rhea Ripley. I mean, we can talk about all of the people that have had a downgrade because of speaking out. You can argue Matt Riddle, even before speaking out, had a downgrade as soon as we knew he was coming to the main roster. But if you strip all that away and you stick to purely kayfabe context, Rhea Ripley, awful year.
Yeah, obviously I have the list of ones because obviously with the ebb and flow of how WWE operates, there's obviously loads of people that are going to get downgraded. The ones that stick out in my mind are Shayna Baszler throughout this year. I mean, obviously she eventually won the tag title, so she kind of found her footing eventually, but she was the biggest heel in NXT at the very start of this year, been champion for most of the last 2 years. And then she comes in, she has that match with Becky, and then it's completely dropped, pretty much. Andrade, terrible year. Loses his manager, loses just every single shot that he has at the Raw Tag Team titles.
Every single one.
Yeah, fucking 40 of them.
Viking Raiders, they lose the tag titles at the start of the year, and then one of them gets injured, and now Eric's on his own and it's not doing anything.
Chasing for the 24/7 title, that's it.
Yeah. Tucker in a decent tag team at the start of the year. Tag team definitely could have been champions at some point, and now he's just a nobody in the 24/7 division.
Yeah,
The Iconics. Say what you would. Say I was never the biggest fan of the tag team, but they were so much better off together than now they are apart. I do like the Billie Kay character now, but you could still have that Billie Kay character with her teaming with Peyton Royce. I don't see what the point is putting Peyton Royce into a tag team with Lacey Evans, who she has zero chemistry with.
No.
I think the thing that annoys me is that they're also just trying to throw Billy in tag teams. They're not.
Well, maybe I kind of feel like they're just doing some stupid gimmick where they're just throwing them into random tag teams at the moment, and then eventually it'll be like, oh, we should never have split up as a tag team. Let's get back together as a tag team, and then it'll just like nothing ever happened.
Nobody hires her as a tag team partner except for Peyton Royce.
Naomi, just because like she was there at the start of the year and now she's nowhere to be seen again. Aleister Black, terrible year. Daniel Bryan, I think, had a bad year in terms of his just overall star power. Hopefully it's like recovered in 2021, but the fact that he missed so much of the year just hurt him quite a bit. The one that I had, but obviously my choice is Velveteen Dream because of everything that Tony mentioned, and even beyond that, it's just the fact that even if all the shit surrounding Velveteen Dream wasn't so bad, he's completely lost it, like completely lost it in the ring. Like he is nowhere near as energetic as a performer. He's nowhere near as charismatic, I feel like. And obviously part of that is due to the fact there's no crowd there. And obviously, as Rob says, if there was a crowd there, they probably shit all over him because of what's been said and like been reported about him and all this other stuff. My other choice besides that was the Forgotten Sons. Because they were at least the unit at the start of the year, and they were pushed quite heavily when they got started, and then this stuff with Jackson Morica comes out. And it's just, I can't understand why this company continues to hold on to people that really will never ever move the needle for them. Like they're more bodies to have around and stuff like that, but these guys are never going to move the needle for them, and they're never going to move needles for their competitors either because they've got so much stigma attached to them, and yet they still decide to keep hold of them and just hope that one day everyone's going to forget and they can try and just move forward with them. But yeah, it has to be Velveteen Dream for this one.
Let's move over to ring work. Self-explanatory. Worst, I'm going Nia. Yeah. She at her level, she shouldn't be this bad and dangerous.
That's a big. I think that's probably my choice as well. I mean, I have others like Velveteen Dream. I thought was terrible this year. Braun Strowman was bad in the ring. Goldberg's obviously terrible in the ring at this point, but he only had a few matches, fortunately. Again, I have to bring up these people like Aaliyah and Tamina. You can't be in this company for this long and be so bad at wrestling. It's just ridiculous to me. And Santana Garrett fits into that thing as well. She had bad matches throughout the year, but
I had her down too.
To be fair, I almost said Dexter Lumis, but actually Dexter Lumis towards the end of the year actually had some decent matches when he wasn't wrestling like Dexter Lumis. Like when he actually just wrestled like he was a normal person. Then he was actually pretty good. So it has to be Nia though. Nia's too reckless for above anything else.
All right. That's our second
threefer. That'll be the term, the threefers.
That's a 2-for 3-for.
I don't know who I'm going to go with for ring work, to be honest. I have like 7 names down and I still haven't picked yet. So, who do you guys got? Maybe you'll sway me one way or the other.
I have quite a few listed as well. There's I mean, let's face it, WWE has the best, some of the, if not the best wrestlers in the world. So, and again, we can obviously talk, and we will talk a lot about the negatives this year. Most of that was creatively faced. Like, in terms of actual matches and ring works, these guys really dug WWE's creative out of the fire many, many times this year.
For being able to have no crowd and everything, they put on some damn good matches.
Yeah, so there's so many that I could really choose from. Rob, do you actually have like a set up one? Because like I've got so many listed here.
No, there's a lot. I think we all know that there's a lot of great matches and great wrestlers in WWE.
Well, let's spit out some of the obvious ones. Kyle O'Reilly.
Sasha Banks is an obvious one as well. Kyle O'Reilly, Sasha Banks.
Yeah, there's Keith Lee, Adam Cole,
Drew McIntyre. I think
Drew,
Drew had a great year.
AJ Styles, of course, is really good. Daniel Bryan's always really good. Shayna Baszler knows what the hell she's doing all the time.
I'd say Timothy Thatcher had a great year in the ring.
Adam Cole.
Jey Uso when he came back was awesome.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with Johnny Gargano.
Yeah, Seth Rollins as well. I think carried a lot of good matches as well.
Yeah, he's
And
not on my
obviously,
list.
I had Asuka and Bailey down as well because I think they did really well this year. Just in ring wise, they basically had good to great matches pretty much every time out. I think, like, guns to my head, my choice is actually Sasha Banks. I think that she just made every match that she had like better, and I think she really kicked into a new gear. This year to kind of like prove the fact that okay, she is one of the best in the world in the ring, male or female. So yeah, I'd go with Sasha.
So specifically, I'm also, I think push comes to shove, I'd also go with Sasha. I had like the Street Profits on my list too. I think they had a really good year. You know, again, AJ was very close because he had a lot of my favorite matches of the year. But Sasha Banks, and I'm going to say this a lot about her and Bailey, ran the fucking company during the pandemic. We're on all three brands. We're the best things on the brand if your name isn't Tony Mango. And like Sasha proved almost in every way, from like the looks to the ring work to everything, that she is the star that she says she is, and nobody was there to see it. That's the thing that kills me, is like she was doing this all in front of like no live audience because she killed it every time out. I mean, wrestling Io Shirai at the Great American Bash, Hell in a Cell with Bailey. Even like I didn't even dislike the Carmella stuff because Sasha was just on a different level this year. And by the way, she's main evented Raw, she's main evented SmackDown, main evented NXT. Can anybody else say that this year? I highly doubt it.
Probably Bailey.
She'd probably be the only one.
I'm not picking Sasha, but I'm still not sure. I might go Adam Cole.
Adam Cole's always great, always consistent.
He never has a bad match, really. So I think I'm gonna go Adam Cole. Yeah, I was thinking about giving it to Kyle O'Reilly, but then Adam Cole's had some. Yeah, that's where it kind of changes. And Gargano is always one of my favorites, so I could go with him, but I'm gonna go Cole. Yeah, let's go with Mike Work. It's another self-explanatory one. Talking. That's basically it. Is it mean for me to give worst to Angie Mysterio?
I mean, they gave her a microphone, so it's because it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, you can keep your Angie because I'm going. Aaliyah is a terrible fucking.
She was another one of my options.
I'm going with Aaliyah because Aaliyah is awful.
Angie was worse though, I think.
My hope is that they've been off TV for a couple weeks now, right? Kill it dead. Don't even bring them back. Just leave the Aaliyah Murphy thing dead and don't even do it again.
If you need to pick somebody more standard, I'd probably go Tamina. Because remember, she was cutting some promos earlier this year where she basically had like no lines to say, and she still botched them.
Huh.
In terms of someone that's more standard, I mean, Nia Jax is a bad promo. I hate the noise that she makes when she comes out. It's just that she's so like. What was that thing that she said about like the Lana thing recently? They're going to put their boobs coming out. Of her
She's
back
going to have
or something
boobs
like
on her back.
Yeah.
Just like Ember Moon when she came back, cut some really bad promos.
God, I forgot about that. Ember Moon, yeah, wow.
But one thing I can't shake from my mind is these last Sullivan sit-down interviews.
Oh, I forgot. You know what, though? Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily bad mic work. That's bad writing.
It's bad. Yeah, it's bad a lot of things, though.
Yeah.
But then there's also, obviously there's Aaliyah and stuff like that. But again, outside of that thing, there's Rob Gronkowski as well. He was like, he's somebody who you think should be more charismatic than he is. I think he feels like he's very charismatic, but just the way that he talks just irritates me. Maybe that's the way I'm supposed to feel. But he was presented as a babyface for his entire time that he was there. So, like, that's clearly not what I'm supposed to feel. But yeah, that was really annoying.
Rob Gronkowski made a 70-year-old man jump off a balcony to show him how to do something and not be a bitch about it. Rob Gronkowski did not have a great WWE run.
If we still had the celebrity appearance award, which that's one of the things that we changed over the past year, that'd be up there. Debbie Burnett got more out of her spots than
yeah. In which case, I kind of want to give it to Ron Gronkowski just because I can't give him Worst Celebrity of the Year. So I just want to give it to him just to show how badly he sucked this entire year.
Here's two other people that I had down as my worst. Finn Balor.
Yeah.
You don't like the cat.
The cat's gonna play, and I got cat scratch fever, but he's delivering it like bad too. Like he's never been a good promo in my mind. Maybe a couple times he's cut like a decent one, but never really a good one. And then just for my own personal bias, I gotta shout out. I hate Kaylee Ray's accent.
Oh.
I hate it so much. It's not her fault. It's an accent thing. But it's just like NXT UK champion. Oh God, I hate it so much.
All right, we do love all the great people in Scotland. If you're listening to this,
I'm sorry, it's just me, and I fully admit I'm an asshole because I don't like any accent. I will say that. Like, if you are from the South, if you're from the North, if you're from the East, you're from the West, I think accents are weird. And I've even tried to change my own accent. I mean, I'm in the Philadelphia area. I know almost everybody says water. And I'm like, water, water, water. Convince myself to the point where I got rid of that little bit of the water. Some stuff still comes out every once in a while, but I'm like, man, it's weird when you're listening to like a Kaylee Ray promo, and I'm just kind of like, oh God, stop talking. Like, yeah, just kind of not a fan. Who are you guys going with? Because I went with Angie.
I went with Aaliyah, and if I had to pick a more standard person, Callum just really jarred my memory with that Lars Sullivan stuff, so maybe him.
I'm going Gronkowski.
On the best side of things, big fan of. I mean, Adam Cole can do a great promo every single time. Wouldn't give it to him probably. Montez Ford, very, very strong choice. Huge fan of Cameron Grimes at this point.
Cameron Grimes.
But I'm going to go Pat McAfee.
Yep. So I would have gone with Edge, because Edge cut some banger promos this year, especially the last one where he's just sitting in the ring. But then Pat McAfee comes along and puts the entire wrestling roster to shame. And yeah, Pat McAfee is the king of the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good choices this year. You got, like I said, Adam Cole, Montez Ford. Paul Heyman's always great on the mic. Roman Reigns actually got pretty good on the mic this year as well, which is a nice surprise. Drake Maverick, probably have to give him a shout as well, because his promo that he cut, again, not on TV, but just through his own social media, got him rehired at the company. So
yep.
So that's probably the most important promo of the year, really, because it saved a man's job. But the two that really stand out to me are MVP and Pat McAfee.
MVP's great, yeah.
Yeah, MVP came back and he's just revived 3 other superstars' careers on his own, pretty much. Like, just helping them get back out of their slump and into this Hurt Business thing. But I'll go with Pat McAfee. He just sounds like somebody who feels like he should have been working wrestling for his entire life, and he's only been there for a few months. But everything that he says has such a point and conviction to it, and he's such an asshole, but it's the right kind of hate, because you just want to see him get beaten up. You don't want to not listen to him. You want to listen to him, and then you want to see him get beaten up afterwards.
Another 3-pick kind of thing. Let's go to match of the year. I did something different this year. I started to write down things separately where people could see where my thoughts were going, and I think I'm going to do that going forward. So I have a list of some potential best matches of the year. I don't know which one I'm going to go with for my actual pick, but here are some of the ones that I was thinking about. The 2020 Men's Royal Rumble match, which is a strong contender for this.
Great match.
Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic at TakeOver Portland. Those two they constantly have great matches. Bruiserweights versus the Undisputed Era at TakeOver Portland. A fantastic match. Another one at TakeOver Portland. Tommaso Ciampa versus Adam Cole. Wonder
What's
what
your
pay-per-view
event of the year?
Yeah, I wonder what pay-per-view is going to win that. I liked the SmackDown Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber match a whole lot. That's on my list. The greatest wrestling match ever Reg and Randy Orton at Backlash. AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan Intercontinental Championship Tournament Final on the June 12th episode of SmackDown. The one that I'm assuming Callum's going to pick, Walter versus Ilya Dragunov from NXT UK.
Whew. I'll talk about it a little later.
And the only other one that I wrote down was the Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley match from November 18th for the women's title.
Lots of really solid matches this year. Sasha and Io, to add to that extensive list that Tony just laid out. Sasha and Io was great. I enjoyed War Games. It's a spectacle, but like I really did enjoy that match this year. The Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match, a lot of fun. Balor and Adam Cole the next week, great stuff. You know, Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly is a strong contender, almost like the NXT US equivalent of that Dragunov Walter match. I'm gonna go with Bryan and AJ because it was one of the matches that I wasn't like at the desk for, and I was just sitting down watching, and it blew my mind. And I'm gonna go with that as my favorite match of the year because it was so much fun.
Yeah, there was definitely some excellent matches this year. The ones that haven't already mentioned, the ones that obviously mentioned Men's Royal Rumble, Finn Balor vs Kyle O'Reilly, Randy Orton Edge. There's a few matches written down. A few other ones that caught my eye this year. A lot on the women's side, actually, which again I thought that a lot of the women's matches this year were great. But there's Asuka and Becky Lynch from the Royal Rumble. I thought was an excellent match. Asuka against Sasha Banks from Survivor Series this year. I was a big fan of that match. Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley from WrestleMania 36. I think that was the best actual match at WrestleMania 36. And Sasha Banks versus Bayley from that episode of SmackDown recently when they did the rematch for the title, I thought was an excellent match as well.
Even better than the Hell in a Cell?
Yeah, I think that was my favourite out of the two of them. I preferred the match over the Hell in a Cell one. But the obvious choice to me, I mean, before I saw that match from NXT UK, it was going to be the Men's Royal Rumble, just because I thought that's the most perfectly booked Royal Rumble they've had in 10 to 15 years. Probably since Cena won it, because that was just like a big surprise. Oh, wow, Cena's back, and everything's super exciting about that. But I think this Royal Rumble was just so well put together with Brock Lesnar dominating it for so long, having McIntyre eliminate him, going on to win. You have Edge's return, the MVP returning. You have all these little storylines with Brock Lesnar stuff early on with him fighting Kofi Kingston and him fighting Rey Mysterio and Big E and Keith Lee and Braun Strowman at one point at the same time. It was all just super great. That was a really fun match. But Walter versus Ilya Dragunov is just on another level this year. It's the most physical match that I think I've ever seen. Physical traditional match with no DQs or anything like that. Most physical style of that match I think I've ever seen in a WWE branded ring. Just they were beating the shit out of each other for 25-30 minutes, and it was just epic to watch every moment. It made me I was already a fan of Dragunov, but it makes me want to just watch every match that he has now from this point onwards. And Walter's always been excellent, and they just completely stole the year for me in terms of matches. I think there was loads of good matches this year, but if you're going like the 5-star range type thing, everything else kind of dropped. I mean, not dropped an entire star, but they dropped to like the low 4s for me. And then Walter and Ilya Dragunov is 5+ for me. It's just an epic match.
And I'm gonna go a step further and say the lack of a crowd helps that match.
Yeah,
because
I think
you
so.
hear them beating the fuck out of each other, and it's real good. I want to give a shout out to a sleeper that just hit last night. Roman and Owens in the cage was a great match. And not only was it a great match, over 4 million people watched that match and that first hour of SmackDown. And I think you gotta say something about the absolute ability of Roman as a worker, because he's done great shit this year. He also did literal shit this year. He dumped dog food and stuff on Baron Corbin, but he's done a lot of really good stuff. But yeah, Walter and Dragunov. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I don't think NXT UK will ever have a better match. Ever. However long that brand exists, that's it. That's the peak. Wrap it up.
That's saying a lot considering Bate and Dunn and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I don't know whether it won't. I can't say for certain that they won't break that one, because the thing about NXT UK, I don't watch it week to week, but when there's a great match on, it's typically just something that I'm just going to sit up and watch the entire way through, because they have some excellent wrestlers there.
So the worst match.
If you're not giving you a choice, Tony, you never even picked what your favorite one is.
Oh, that's right. I would have to go back and watch out for those Portland matches. I know at the time I wrote a couple asterisks next to them. I really, really liked, for instance, the Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic one. I do think that there's a lot of merit to Edge and Orton at Backlash, but I don't want to give it to that because it's so heavily edited. I don't know if that's really it kind of disqualifies it in my mind.
I do want to give them credit. They had a fucking stupid tagline attached to the match.
We'll talk about that later.
To deliver a really, really fun match and one of the better ones of the year. So they deserve all the credit.
I think overall I might go the Men's Royal Rumble just because they did something different, yet at the same time they came around to what I like the best, which is babyface wins the Royal Rumble and goes on to win at WrestleMania. And that does factor in. It's not necessarily the match itself, but the match itself was they set up the big dragon and then they got the Knight to come in and save the day. So I think I might go the Men's Royal Rumble match, actually. The worst side of things, I've got 3 written down. One is the Raw Women's title match between Asuka and Nia Jax at Backlash, which ended in a double count out or double DQ or whatever it was, just so they could do the same match the next night on Monday Night Raw. Hated it. I really, really, really did not like the eye for an eye match between Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio. I thought that was beyond stupid. And that's what they ended up building up to. And then, of course, they ended up dragging it out for another 9 months. But I'm going to go with the Money in the Bank ladder match. Stupid, dumb, not fun. There's too many things I could talk about that I hate about it.
There's again, I think most of the matches this year maybe exceeded expectations considering the circumstances, but there were a lot of trash matches as well. Ones that stick out to our mind, Tony's mentioned obviously a couple of them. I don't know whether I can count Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders, because I don't know whether that is a match. It was just a segment. There was no bell or anything like that, so I can't even say it was a match. Brock Lesnar versus Ricochet at Super Showdown is it's an appalling waste of somebody with so much talent and potential. And especially considering the fact that Brock Lesnar's best matches since he's been back in WWE have been against smaller guys like Ricochet that can fly around and bump huge for him. And they just had him beat in 1 minute and 30 seconds. It's just a huge waste. Goldberg versus Braun Strowman from WrestleMania. I know both world title matches were really quick, but that was just slow, and it was a really quick match in terms of time, but it was just really slow because both guys are just shit in the ring at this point. And Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt Extreme Rules is another display of that swamp battle. Did not like that at all.
Yeah, the Wyatt swamp fight.
To me, it comes down to 2, which is Bray Wyatt versus Goldberg at Super Showdown, which is categorically, in terms of just the action in the ring, the worst match of this entire time. But the thing that match has over what my actual choice is that it didn't steal 45 minutes of my life. And so I'm going, as I said earlier this year, and I'm sticking to my guns because I'm a man of my word, it's Edge versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 36. What an absolute piece of shit.
Here we are, folks. It has been, for the entire year, Callum has said that this match would be the match, and I was very curious to see if he would actually stick with it. Wow.
It's just a case of and again, there's I agree with Tony to an extent about the Money in the Bank match, but I actually found elements of the Money in the Bank match entertaining. This match was just boring from start to finish. Just a load of guys, these 2 guys just hitting each other on the back for 40 minutes around the arena. If they just had a traditional match on that show, it would have been 10 times better than the turd they put together on this one. It was just, oh yeah, they fall off a few high things, and oh, they slam each other on the table of like a conference room or something like that. It's just, yeah, just I don't know. I wanted a match with story and some sort of like real emotion behind it, stuff like that. It was just two guys hitting each other for 40 minutes. It really, really was boring. So yeah, that is completely my choice.
I'm first of all, I'm proud of Callum for sticking to his guns, but that match, I did not see that match was that bad. I guess like I was blinded by like, yay, Edge can physically do things and he's not being paralyzed. But yeah, it was a long one.
What's your pick for worst?
Okay, so there's a lot of like really just random, like that was a really shit match on SmackDown and it stole 20 minutes of my life. But worst match, just because it wasn't the match we were supposed to see, it wasn't the finish I would have wanted, and everything after it was dog shit. I'm going Goldberg, Braun, WrestleMania.
You didn't think that was unique?
You know, for that 2 milliseconds, I thought you were being serious. No, it wasn't unique. Circumstances were, but fuck that. Like,
yeah. Oh, I did like an honorable mention on mine as well. I actually figure I didn't know because I wasn't listening. I kind of like my mind just shifted while Tony was talking at the start of it. So I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, but the Women's Survivor Series match. Did you mention that?
no, but you,
no, that
you
match
should.
that match was awful. It was so badly booked.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was another one that's high on my list as well, but still doesn't beat Edge and Randy Orton for me. But yeah, I think it should be mentioned for how terribly booked it was.
Yeah, it's true. That was really, really poorly handled. I had written down all of the cinematic matches. I don't think I'm missing any. This year we had this completely different style, and I don't constitute them for the most part as matches. I did constitute Money in the Bank. To me, if it's got a ring in it, I'll count it. If it doesn't count to me. Like the
Money in the Bank
Boneyard.
had a ring.
That's why I said I counted Money in the Bank.
Count that one, yeah.
Okay.
And like one final beat. Johnny Gargano.
Yeah, that match was. I didn't like that match either. It's so contrived, that match.
But something more so like the Boneyard match, to me, it doesn't register as a match. And the Firefly Funhouse, not a match.
It did have a ring in it.
Like,
that was what? Like, how long was that promo? Because that was just a large vignette. How long was that?
Probably like 15 minutes.
Yeah, 10, 15 minutes, maybe. I enjoy it as a piece of like art house theater.
Yeah, it's promo wise, if that leads up to the match, it's a totally different story. I didn't really like the backlap brawl between Cole and Dream.
Oh yeah, that was awful. Dream stabbed shit.
Viking Profits and the Ninjas and everything at Backlash.
That's gotta stop you there. There's a tentacle creature. I'm never getting over that because why?
The whole thing just made no sense. It's like,
but at least they made the ninjas a thing, right? But the tentacle creature,
right,
just showed up out of nowhere.
Suddenly, it's I forget the name of it, the Diagonal or the whatever the fuck from Star Wars, the garbage compactor. I kind of liked that Sheamus and Jeff Hardy were going to do a bar fight, but I didn't really like the match itself all that much. I did like the Haunted House of Terror, just for what it was. But cinematic matches, it's largely a bust. I had also written down a couple other matches for the worst that I don't even remember. I wrote down Chelsea Green versus Xia Li from NXT on May 6th. But I don't remember a damn thing about it. And I remember coming across earlier this year people saying that Carmella versus Naomi on SmackDown in February was absolutely terrible, but I don't think I had seen it. I think that was one of those matches where I had like gone upstairs and it was happening like and then I was like, oh, okay, so like Carmella won or something like that. So those are the technical skills awards. that is part 1 of our 6-part section here for the 2020 Smack Talk and Smark Out Moment Awards. Obviously, the way that we normally do things here is it's usually the end of everything by the end of the episode, but we're not doing that because if you're listening to us on the YouTube side of things, you got to click on the next video, and then we will continue on in part 2 with the writing awards. But if you are listening to us on the podcast only, kind of the audio only feeds, I should say, then this will just pop back up in another couple seconds or so. But if you are on YouTube, then click on that next part, and we will see you there.